The world of finance, it just feels like it's always changing, always evolving, doesn't it?
It really does.
And sometimes the really interesting innovations, they pop up in places you might not expect.
That's exactly right. We hear a lot about the big banks, the fintech startups, sure, but there are some really established players making big moves too.
Which, yeah, brings us right to what we're digging into today. We're looking at credit unions, pillars of the community built on trust.
Right.
And how they're actually grabbing onto some pretty advanced tech, specifically blockchain, to, well, change how they serve their members.
Yeah, our source for this is, it's a pretty recent announcement. It talks about a key partnership, a new innovation program, basically laying out a roadmap for credit unions to start using these tools.
Okay, let's break that down then. Our mission here is to figure out what this really means for the credit unions themselves, for the tech involved. You mentioned blockchain, maybe stablecoins.
Stablecoins are definitely part of it.
And crucially, what does it mean for you listening? Maybe you're a member, maybe you're thinking about it, or maybe you're just interested in where banking is headed.
And what's really interesting, I think, is how they're looking at this tech. It's not just, buzzwords. They seem to see blockchain as a practical way to double down on that core mission, putting members first, making things faster, safer, maybe more accessible.
Absolutely. The source we're looking at, it mentions a new team up between Metallicus, they're the folks behind Metal Blockchain, and GoWest Solutions.
Right, which is tied into the GoWest Credit Union Association.
Exactly. And this isn't just talk. They're actually launching a hands-on innovation program. It's aimed right at credit unions out in the Western U.S.
Yeah. The whole idea behind this program is to give these credit unions a sort of safe space, a compliant infrastructure, so they can actually try out and roll out blockchain solutions for problems they're dealing with right now.
And the specific things they're tackling, that's where it gets really interesting, I think. These aren't way out there concepts. They're aimed at core services. First one mentioned is Metal Pay for credit unions.
Right. So think of this as like a ready-made crypto wallet solution they can brand as their own. A white label deal. Its main job. Handling digital payments and holding assets securely, using things like tokenization and stablecoins, and doing it all compliantly.
Okay, stablecoins. Why stablecoins specifically for payments inside a credit union setup? What's the thinking there?
Stability. That's the key word. Unlike, say, Bitcoin, stablecoins are designed to hold a steady value, usually tied to something like the US dollar. So you get rid of that huge price swing risk. For a member, this could mean faster digital transfers, maybe cheaper ones, even internationally perhaps. But it's all happening within that familiar, regulated credit union environment. The tokenization part is just about representing money digitally on the blockchain to make these transfers smoother.
Okay, so you get the speed of digital assets, but without the volatility. That makes sense. It's a big step up from the old payment systems.
Definitely.
So, moving on from payments, the program also hits on another really critical area, identity. They mentioned something called metal identity.
Yeah, identity is huge online, right? And often a real hassle. This part focuses on making member authentication secure using verifiable credentials and also single sign-on, SSO.
Okay, verifiable credentials and SSO. How is using blockchain for identity different from, how my bank handles my login now?
Well, right now, your bank probably stores your data in lots of different places internally. Verifiable credentials, they kind of flip that. It creates a digital identity that you control that's portable, like having digitally signed pieces of proof about who you are. You can share just what's needed securely. Combine that with SSO, and maybe you log into multiple credit union services or even partner services with just one secure digital ID. Less password madness, better privacy, better security. It's managed through your credit union relationship.
Wow, okay. That sounds much smoother. And you get that sort of decentralized security layer that's, hard to mess with.
Exactly.
And the third thing they list tackles a huge concern for everyone: fraud.
The program includes next-gen fraud prevention and risk mitigation. This source talks about using tools like private blockchain subnets and advanced access controls.
Okay, private blockchain subnets. What does that actually do for fraud prevention? How does that work?
So think of a private subnet like a secure, members-only digital space, controlled by the credit union, maybe some trusted partners. Now, add in the fact that blockchain records are basically permanent, unchangeable. Every transaction, every login attempt, every access leaves a permanent footprint in that secure space. This makes it way harder for fraud to hide or for someone to cover their tracks. compared to regular databases. You can spot weird patterns faster, report them, maybe even stop them sooner, because the evidence trail is clear and tamper-proof inside that private network.
Ah, I see. So you're applying that core blockchain security feature directly to fighting fraud. That makes a lot of sense. But how do credit unions, with their long history, their focus on personal relationships, how do they actually bring in this kind of complex, cutting-edge tech effectively?
That's really where this partnership and the whole program structure come in. It's meant to be a guided process. There's a quote in the source from Troy Stang. He's the president and CEO of GoWest. He talks about this exact evolution. He says, credit unions always led with trust, with purpose, and now they can lead with technology too, empowering them to explore things like blockchain, stablecoins, digital ID, but securely, compliantly, and this is key, in ways that are, quote, deeply rooted in member needs.
Deeply rooted in the needs of their members. Yeah, that really stands out. It's not just tech for tech's sake.
Exactly.
It sounds like a strategic move to give members real practical benefits using the latest tools. Cameron Smith from GoWest says something similar, right? About collaboration and bold innovation for smarter, safer, and more agile ways to serve members.
Yeah, and Frank Massa from Metallicus also chimes in, saying the GoWest network is kind of perfectly set up to lead this next wave of financial innovation. It really paints a picture of a very deliberate collaborative effort. They want to make sure this tech is practical, safe, and built with real people, real financial activities in mind, just like the source emphasizes.
So if we boil it all down, what could this mean for you, the person managing your money? Well, it could mean that the credit union you already trust is working hard behind the scenes, working to make your digital payments potentially faster, maybe cheaper, making your online identity safer and hopefully easier to manage.
And keeping your money safer from fraud.
Right. All powered by tech, like blockchain, but sort of running in the background, improving the systems you already know.
It's a pretty exciting development, really. Taking that long history of trust and community service.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to deliver on that promise using, 21st century tools and security.
And I noticed the program itself is being offered at no cost to the GoWest member credit unions. That's a big deal.
It is. That really lowers the barrier to entry, encourages more institutions across their network to actually try this stuff out.
Yeah, it shows they're serious about making this widespread, not just a niche experiment.
Exactly. It's about making blockchain innovation real, relevant, and accessible for these credit unions and ultimately for their members.
It definitely shows a commitment to staying relevant, staying competitive in this fast-changing financial landscape.
Right.
Using these advanced tools to kind of modernize and strengthen the core things that make credit unions, credit unions.
And this is important, doing it with a major focus on security and compliance, fitting this new tech into the trusted, regulated financial system.
Right. It's not the Wild West of crypto. It's blockchain being built for a regulated, member-first environment.
Precisely. That's a key distinction.
Okay, so let's kind of wrap this up. What we're seeing here is pretty clear. Credit unions, institutions really built on trust and community are actively, grabbing onto advanced technology like blockchain.
Yeah, they're using it to deliver on that core promise, just in new ways for today's digital world. We talked about the potential wins. Faster, compliant payments, stronger digital identity solutions that you control more,
Right.
and smarter fraud prevention using blockchain security strengths.
And these aren't just abstract ideas floating around. They're being designed, being built with everyday people and, practical financial needs right at the center. This could really change how you interact with your bank or credit union down the line.
It's definitely compelling. Seeing these institutions with such a strong legacy, taking these kinds of bold tech steps, but keeping the member focus.
So as you're thinking about your own finances, maybe how you bank or pay for things today, here's something to chew on. How might these specific applications of blockchain, think digital payments that are faster, maybe cheaper, a secure digital ID that you actually control, better fraud protection working quietly in the background, how might that fundamentally shift what you expect in terms of speed, security, and just plain ease of use from any financial provider in the coming years?